Now there are a lot of different ways to multiply numbers, but this is the standard traditional way. Let's say we have something like this, 6 times 24. And I want to point out that if the dot is in the middle of the numbers, you see the height, how it's in the middle. If it's a dot, that's the same as multiplying. Dot is the same as multiplying. However, you have to be careful because this is 6 times 24 because the number is in the middle of the number, but this is 6.24. The dot is at the bottom to represent that decimal point. This, if it's in the middle of the number, it's multiplication. So 6 times 24, how do I set that up? I have 24 times 6. I lined it up on the side, and I have to do things very systematically. I have to do 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Only one number goes in each column. So what happens to the 2? You have to bring it over here. So 6 times 4 was 24. Now I need to do 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, but I carried the 2. So 12 plus 2 is 14. It's 14. So my answer is 144. Let's do another example. We have 38 times 4. Again, step by step. Bottom number with top number. 4 times 8 is 32. So the 2 gets dropped down here. The 3 gets carried. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus the 3 that I carried over is 15. So my answer is 152. Now what happens when you have a 0 in your number? If I have a number like this, 405 times 2. It's the same process, a step at a time. 2 times 5 is 10. So drop my 0, carry the 1. 2 times 0, anything times 0 is 0, but I carried the 1. So plus 1 is 1. And then, so that was this step. Now the final step. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I have 810. That is how you multiply a multi-digit by a 1-digit. Now what happens if you have the second digit? So something like this. 34 times 21. We are going to do the step that we did before, where it's that first number multiplied by the top. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to ignore the 2. I'm going to ignore that exists right there and solve the problem like this first. So I'm going to ignore that. So 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. I did that step. Now I ignore this because I already did it. Now I do it with here. Now since this is the second number, in my answer, I need to put a 0 first to represent I'm ignoring this one. So now I'm in the tens column and I'm going to multiply. The same thing, 2 times 4, which is 8, and then 2 times 3, which is 6. Now with these two numbers, I'm going to add them. Because I did this step first, then I did this step. So together, what would I get? That's why I'm adding. I need to put them together. So I have 4 plus 0 is 4, 3 plus 8 is 11, 1 plus nothing plus 6 is 7. So my answer is 714. Again, the key here is to ignore the second number and do it first, traditionally. Then ignore the second number, and because you ignored that, you need to put a 0. Then you calculate, like normally. And you get that. And what happens if the number is bigger than 2 numbers at the top? You just have to go through the steps accordingly. So 3, 4, 5, 6, times 7/8, you're repeating the same process. Ignore the second number and do all the steps first. And then you ignore the first number, but don't forget the 0. You do all the steps there. Then add them together, combine them, and you will get the same answer.